I would like to know what's wrong with me, and I am prepared for any answer.
Okay. While you clearly have an analytical mind, I worry that you view things in too simplistic a manner. In terms of your leadership abilities, I'm concerned that you have an off-putting style.
Like, visually? Because I know I tend towards the fashion forward, but great leaders need to be focused on the future.
I'm speaking in a deeper sense. Also, in terms of being a team player, it's problematic that you lack a certain sensitivity.
Okay, well, in my anecdotal experience, people really enjoy hearing the truth. Like, that necklace isn't flattering on you.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Boys Watching Girls. We are just two boys watching HBO's Girls, the premiere podcast where two men review girls. We are your hosts. I am Joe Welke.
I am Vance.
And today we're talking about Season 4, Episode 4, Cubbies. Overall, this is Episode 36. It's directed by Jesse Peretz, written by Bruce Eric Kaplan. The original air date was February 8th, 2015, to an audience of 406,000 people. 0.406 million. This must be another one of those Super Bowl things.
Yeah, man, this is a big drop off from we were floating around what 0.7.
Yeah, it was like 0.7 ish. Yeah, it was like upper sevens, lower sevens, but
Yeah.
this is 400,000.
Wow.
This has to be another Super Bowl thing where it's like it aired on a Saturday, and or maybe they like. Or actually, it looked like they took a week off because the last episode aired January 25th. So maybe they were trying to avoid that Super Bowl thing again and took a week off. And yeah. But yeah, Cubbies. How you feel about this one?
It's some good stuff in this episode. Overall, it just felt like it feels almost like a filler episode, but it's not because something major stuff happens. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of major themes happening in it, a lot of major important messages happening in it, and some major stuff happens in it. I don't know. I kind of like this one.
Know,
it seems like
it's not as much a filler episode as like a bridge episode. Like it's bridging everything else to come almost, like it's setting up a lot of stuff.
Yes, this is a good setup, and then the next couple episodes are going to be those punchlines, baby, because this one was rolling. I thought it was a good episode, though. I liked
it's not
it.
bad. It's very solid. Like nothing to really put you off about it, really.
This is a big cliffhanger episode. That's what I'll say it is.
Yeah.
There's loads of cliffhangers happening in this.
Yeah. So should we just spoil those at the beginning and people can just skip listening to the rest of the episode? Take one off.
Yeah. We're just going to be like, hey, this is a quick 15-minute podcast. Here's everything major that happens in it. You'll get our analysis some other time.
Yeah.
If you want our analysis, just text us or something.
Yeah, we'll start a text thread.
That would be so miserable.
Yeah.
So many people texting us. Just a group chat. All right. So you want to do this by character or chronological?
We can go character, I believe. Right?
All right. So let's start off with Shoshanna then.
Yeah.
So Shoshanna starts off the episode getting rejected from a job interview, from a job that it makes it seem like she wants this job. And she's like really trying hard. And the woman that's interviewing her is just like, hey, it was lovely to meet you. I just don't think you're going to be a good fit for our company. And Shoshanna's like not taking it at all. She's just like, wait, why? Why don't you think I'm going to be a fit? Like maybe you think that I won't be a fit. A lot of times people think I won't be a fit. But then once I'm there, I totally fit in. She's like, the lady's trying to let this girl down gently and just be like, we don't want you here. Yeah. Shoshanna's not having it. She's not accepting it until Shoshanna eventually goes, what's wrong with me? Why don't you want me? What's wrong with me? And the lady's like, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just I feel like you won't fit in. And she's like, no, I need to know what's wrong with me because this will affect my job interviews in the future. So what do I need to work on, basically? And then the lady just kind of tells her that she's off-putting and her leadership style would be off-putting and she doesn't seem like she'd work in teams very well. And like she's just hitting some hard truths for old Shoshi Bear.
I love when she whips out the when Shoshanna thinks, okay, I've heard enough, and she starts being like, oh no, wait, I haven't even gotten to the big part. Yeah, like how you answered this question.
I haven't even gotten to the root of the problem.
Like, I got the receipts. I'm gonna whip these all out and tell you right now.
I wish that scene would have continued.
It could have been the whole episode.
Because it stops as soon as she's like, I haven't even gotten to the real issue. Yeah. And then it goes title card.
Yeah, which was an interesting title card, too. It was like a white background and maybe like a teal. I forget exactly the colors, but it was an interesting, different color scheme. It was interesting in here because this scene, she's telling her how like off-putting she can be sometimes. She's like, oh, I just speak my mind. Like your earrings aren't working for you or something. Like she said that necklace isn't very flattering on you. Yeah. It's just like classic.
And then the lady just kind of looks at her like, this is exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes, this is right. I wonder why the other job didn't see that in her. I guess what she had brought to the that jewelry job that she turned down. And
I think it was for Ann Taylor or something. Ann Taylor
I guess like they need a type like Shoshanna there. That's where her type would fit in. But like, I don't know what Mackenzie is. They were talking about like Chelsea Clinton used to work there.
I don't know either, and I am not looking it up.
Nope, not looking it up either.
There's some things that I will die on, and I'll like look it up, and I'll be like, I gotta find out what was the movie that Adam Driver acted in 7 years ago or something, and I'll look that up. But I'm not looking up what Mackenzie is. Sorry, everybody. You just have to do that shit on your own.
Yeah, I was just like, I could stop and look, and I was like, no, whatever.
Yeah. I feel like it's a more, if I had to guess, it's like a more fashion-y, upscale-y place.
I don't even know if it's fashion. If Chelsea Clinton worked there, but I actually don't know anything. We should just move on because we don't know anything.
Yeah, I believe it's an upscale place.
The more we talk about it, the more I'm going to want to look it up. So let's not talk about it.
It's like here's the thing: is I feel like it's obviously a job that Shoshanna wants.
Yes.
It's where she thinks she fits in society, and they're telling her you don't fit in here at all.
Exactly,
which is great.
Yeah.
So then, she meets up with Jessa and Marnie, and she's kind of lamenting about the hardships of the real world. And she's kind of like...
And I think in this scene, we should just talk about like how... Let's just start where this scene started, because I think this is more or less all of Jessa.
Yeah. So it starts with Marnie playing a song that she and Desi wrote on her phone for Jessa. And Jessa's listening to it, and she's kind of like, oh... all right, yeah, that's definitely a song. And Marnie's like, yeah, but don't you love like this part? And don't you love like this thing? And she's like, yeah, I mean, I could see that. I could see you definitely trying to do that. And Marnie's like, Marnie is so hoping for heaps of praise, and Jess is giving her nothing.
And the weirdest thing is she's playing it from her phone speaker in a bar that has music playing. And she's like Jessa's holding it up to her ear, listening, and it's just like, what? Like, this is not how you present this, like something you really care about.
Yeah,
I'm also surprised they're hanging out together. But
me too. You go to a quiet coffee. You go to Ray's Coffee House to do this.
Yeah, or you just send them the song and you talk about it later. Or something.
Yeah.
I don't think you should let people. I don't think it should be like an instant reaction.
Yeah, no. I've been recording music recently, and I played a song for one of my friends that I wrote, and it's like got me singing on it, and because they were like, I really want to hear this song that you wrote. Let me hear it. And I was, even still, as they're like please play it for me. I was like, I don't know. Can I just send it to you after you're gone? Like playing a song for someone that you wrote that you're like singing on is so vulnerable and so just like, it gave me the willies, you know? And Marnie seems to have no issues about that.
And I feel bad for the person having to listen and respond, you know? Because, like, you can't give, like, you don't get a chance to digest and, like, formulate your words how you want to say it, you know?
Well, it's also, like, so much of that person's hard work and soul or, like, whatever has been put into it and emotion. Yeah. And, like, you can tell that they're attached to this song and shit. And then if you don't like it, it's kind of like you're shitting on their emotions.
Yeah, unless it's like really good, you know, like then you're just like, oh dude, this is amazing. Like, yeah. I don't think I would have the chutzpah to do what Marnie's doing to Jessa there. But Jess is trying to, as nicely as possible, be like, can we not talk about this because I don't like it? Yeah. And then,
so then Shoshanna shows up and she's like, this is bullshit. This is my 7th interview in 2 weeks and no one's hiring me. Like, no one ever talked about how hard the real world is. And Marnie goes, that's literally anything that anyone talks about.
Yeah, that's everything anyone talks about. I knew that was going to happen, but I thought that was such a simple way of like expressing that idea of just having her say that. And then I thought Marnie was actually going to say, we've been telling you, not like everyone. Like, I thought she'd be like, we specifically have told you that.
Yeah, we've been going through this and you have been so not listening to us about it, you know?
Which no one does in college.
Yeah, I guess.
To a certain extent, you know, you hear it, but you don't realize. It's like growing up. Like, your parents tell you certain things. Like, oh, this is going to be different when you're older. And you're like, nah, I won't. Like, you have to experience certain things until you, like, realize it. But I also think this scene, Shoshanna saying this, really needed to happen in front of Hannah. Because most of her conflicts regarding the real world have dealt with Hannah. So I really wanted Hannah to get the payoff of seeing Shoshanna be like, oh, the real world's not what I expected. And just so I could see Hannah's reaction, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the scene, and we like saw this scene coming from miles and miles and miles away. It's such a important scene though. And
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's important, but it's just played off as 2 lines. It's like, I didn't know it was going to be this hard. And it's like, everyone told you it would be hard. And it doesn't really have the impact of like what has been built up for like 2 seasons at least.
Yeah, well, hopefully Shoshanna's struggles continue and she does get more humble.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I want her to like be a desperate homeless person, but she definitely needs a bit of humbling because she's still riding high. She's still like, I don't get this. This is bullshit. Yeah. And it's like, no, you just need to be like, you know what I think might happen? I feel like she's going to have to go back to that Ann Taylor job and be like, can I please have this job?
That place is not taking her back after that. No way. No way.
I hope no that's what's going to happen. And then they turn her down.
There's no
and it'll
way.
be the most humbling.
No.
So at this point, Marnie's like, yeah, cool. You're having real life struggles. Listen to my song, though. Isn't this song good? Then Shoshanna listens to it for like a good 10 seconds. And then she goes, that's it. That's all I needed to hear. It's the perfect song. And Marnie's like, yes, finally some good feedback. And Jessa gives her a look like, what? She's like, yeah, it's $1 billion song in the way that the first time you hear it, you will hate it. But it will just be on the radio so often and everywhere will play it so much that eventually you're just beaten down into loving it. And Marnie's like, that doesn't sound like a compliment. And Jess is like, yeah, exactly. That's exactly my thoughts. I know exactly what Shoshanna's talking about.
I love it. Yeah. It's like that song.
Do you have a song that was that?
Do I have a what?
Do you have a song that was that?
I'm sure I do. I'm not going to be able to think of it offhand, but there's so many songs. There's so many songs like that. You just hear them enough that like they become like okay, you know.
I'm I'm like into, so I've been on TikTok for a bit, and now I'm like, there are TikTok songs that are just all over TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
And at first hearing them, I'm like, this sucks. And then it's just an earworm stuck in your fucking head for forever.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually you look it up and then you start listening to the whole song and you're like, all right, this song got me.
Yeah.
This song got me.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think that's a compliment to Marnie, considering her humble beginnings.
Well, it's also like she said that it's $1 billion song.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
like it's one of those radio hits, but also like people won't really like you guys as a band.
Yeah.
But at
Yeah,
least
you don't have like technical prowess or anything. You're not musically gifted in the way that like intense technical composers are, but you can write a pop hit.
Well, I think
which
they have
is a
good,
skill.
I think they have a good voice, and he can play like the guitar fine. It's just that they have no substance to themselves, and that's what doesn't come through. You know?
Yeah, and the substance is like forced. It's like this song is about death. Like these songs are about like love and lost loves and stuff, but they've been together for such a little amount of time that they're still figuring each other out. And like, you know, the first couple songs that you write together are going to be not very good, you know?
Yeah, whatever. They got people. I guess they got that deal. That's what we should really emphasize.
That is true. They did have that record deal that Marnie kind of ruined.
Yeah, but I guess they got it now.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, true. Damn, shit just comes together so easily for these girls, except for
well, for
Shoshanna right now.
We only got like 10 episodes this season. We got to keep churning.
I just realized, like, oh, I didn't realize that they got the record deal.
Yeah. But not only gotten it, they're already recording it.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think that's and the end of the scene is just Marnie saying that she really wishes Hannah was here so that she could get like real creative person feedback on her creative thing.
Yeah, because Shoshana and Jessa are not. And well, that wraps up Jessa.
Yeah.
And now to continue Shoshana's story, we need to start telling Ray's story, which Ray starts off with he's yelling on the phone, I guess, to City Hall or something. I don't know. Who's he on the phone with?
Yeah.
But they installed a new traffic light on his street, and it's caused a lot of traffic, and cars are honking constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And he's yelling about, like, dude, this block used to be so quiet, and then you put this fucking traffic light, and now it's just honk, 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 honk all the time. And it's driving me crazy. And then he loses his shit, hangs up the phone, goes downstairs, and starts yelling at individual people who are honking. And it's typical New York, like, get the fuck out of here, but who the fuck are you? Don't talk to me. And he's like, no, but you don't understand that your car horn does not correlate to the light changing any faster.
Yeah.
Which is a perfectly reasonable argument.
And this is a big New York problem thing. And they actually have like noise. I think, do they have the I know they have it here. They have like the honking ordinances in LA. And I think they have them in New York too, right?
What are they?
Well, you'll get like a ticket for like honking in like certain, like in neighborhoods, like lights like that. Like this is a thing that like they actually put traffic laws into play.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
This is the first I'm hearing about it. That's very interesting and conscientious of the city.
Oh yeah, that's been a thing for a while. Like New York is more of a honking city. Like if you know that, like I don't know how much you drove in New York, but New York is more honking than LA, just because I think the ordinances and general,
everyone in New York is angrier.
Even though the traffic is, New York has bad traffic. Traffic is bad here too. Like,
I think that people in LA are more aware of traffic because it's just like we all know like how bad the traffic can be here, so we're more, I guess, mindful of that. In New York, I distinctly remember driving around like Long Island City, and there's this one particular street where you're underneath the where the 7 meets the N and I guess it's the W now, the N and the Q when I was living there. And people would just block the box so hard, and the lights would change and not a single car would move. And it was the most frustrating experience of my life, because you'd get in an Uber, and then if you went through that little intersection, you were waiting there for, it added 20-25 minutes to your drive.
Yeah, because this is the thing about New York, for people that don't know. It's like there's so much pedestrian traffic and so many people walking that you only get like 1 or 2 right turns because there's so many people crossing the street. Like in LA, you don't have to worry about that. That's like 2 people crossing the street at any given intersection. But in New York, you see those long, like, mobs of people crossing the street. And like, if you have to make a right turn there, you just can't.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
the
only place that I've seen it like that in LA is on Hollywood Boulevard, like Hollywood and Highland. But that's like every fucking street in New York.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially in Manhattan. Like in Brooklyn and Astoria, Queens, and all that shit. Yeah. Like you can find places that it's fine. It's a lot better. But in Manhattan, that's every block.
Yeah.
And I think that the traffic in New York is much worse than anything I've experienced out here.
Well, I mean, just going cross town, which is like 3 miles, like during a holiday, like going from like Brooklyn to like the Holland Tunnel or something, just to get out of town. You can spend an hour and a half, 2 hours just going those 3 miles. But I think the issue that LA has is that you have to drive everywhere, and then New York you have the subway, which is a lot of people don't even experience the traffic there. And I think most of the people that deal with the traffic there are people from like outer boroughs and out of town, and they're driving and they're like, oh, New York, and they're like, oh, okay, everything just
they live in like
they
live in like Jersey City or something. But so Ray is yelling at individual people at cars, and then Shoshanna sees him. She's just walking around and she sees him yelling at the cars, and she's like, what's up with you? You in the middle of something? Like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, I'm just people are honking, and I fucking gotta yell at them. It's driving me crazy. And she's like, I was just in the neighborhood and just was walking around because I'm an unemployed fucking loser. And Ray's like, cool. Well, I'm going to go run some errands. And then Shoshanna's like, can I come with you? And he's like, yeah, sure. But we're not dilly-dallying. We're fucking going. We're doing my errands, all right? I have a very specific way of accomplishing these errands.
Yeah.
And Shoshanna's like, okay, that's cool. I will not dilly-dally. I will not deviate from this plan. And then she immediately deviates from the plan.
Yeah.
Because the next scene.
Because Ray wants to go he goes to Forest Hills to buy underwear and T-shirts at a specific place. And this
was the most unreasonable thing that I've ever heard.
It's the most Ray thing I've heard too. Like, it's his like thing that he does.
It's like, I was thinking that he had to go to a specific store to get a specific brand, but he just wants to get like a Hanes 6-pack of T-shirts and underwear.
Yeah.
Like, you can get that fucking anywhere.
Go to the Kmart and Astor Place or something.
Yeah, dude. It's just...
Yeah.
And Shoshanna hears this and she's like, no, we're not going to fucking Forest Hills for this.
Yeah.
And then they stop off into like a chic designer place. And Shoshanna is basically telling him like, the reason why you look like a loser all the time is because you shop like a loser. The way that you dress is how you say hello to the world and how the world sees you. And the world is seeing you right now as a huge fucking loser. And I'm not going to allow that anymore. Try on this T-shirt. And Ray's like, this T-shirt is $70. And she was like, I don't care. And I was like, Ray is in the right here.
Well, she says that Ray sees himself as a loser and he's not a loser anymore. I've seen you transition from that. And then he has that very saccharine line where he's like, you made me this. Like
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's a little too sweet. but
Yeah.
but it's there, it's fine. So that kind of convinces him to at least try the shirt on.
But $70 for a t-shirt?
I
mean,
Kanye was selling white tees for $100. Like, fashion in general is, whatever.
I'm sorry to go off on a little bit of a tangent here, but
this whole show is tangents. We're still talking about Shoshanna, and her story's so small. Well, it's actually not that small in this one. She's
Did
got
you
about...
see? Yeah, she's actually a pretty big. This is a big Shoshanna heavy episode, kind of. But did you see the shit that Kanye was saying about how he wants to work with Puma because their designs of their shoes are trash, and he wants to bring Puma and Adidas together, and he will design all of the shoes for Puma because their designs are awful. Have you seen some of the Kanye shoes? They're awful.
The Yeezys. Why Adidas and Puma? Why? Like, how those two
were
are
they
never
together?
They're not working together.
He wants them to join together as one company, so he can work with both of them.
Oh, and then they can take on Nike and
I guess.
I don't.
Dude, but some of the Yeezys are trash, and he has these slip-on shoes that look like just you're putting your foot into a pile of jizz. They look awful. So I'll give it to him. Some of the Yeezys, the Red October Nike ones that he had back in the day, those are sick. Some of the Yeezys that he's done with Adidas are dope. But all of his recent shit, remember when he had that fucking fashion show and everybody was just, it was straight from the Zoolander finale, Dare Lee.
Yeah.
Everybody looked like fucking bums, dude. And he's like, this is the height of fashion.
I mean, those fashion shows are all just, I don't know. It's just not my world, man.
Joe's Fashion Corner here. And I wrote down Shoshanna was doing a Joe's Fashion Corner to Ray.
She did. There's a payoff on it, too.
Yeah. So he tries on the shirt, and while he's trying it on, Shoshanna's like, hey, there's been something that I've been meaning to tell you, and I've wanted to tell you, and I feel like it's important to tell you, or blah, blah, blah. And Ray's like, yeah, go ahead, whatever. And she basically apologizes for how their relationship ended because she was being selfish and rude and didn't know how good she had it. And Ray was a good boyfriend, and she's happy that she loved him because it gives her hope that she will find love another day.
And she,
even though it's definitely not with Ray.
What?
Definitely not with Ray because that ship has sailed.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I love that they put that out there. No, we're not. This isn't I say this, we get closer, we get back together. I really like this because it was just hey, we're going to reset the relationship and we will just be friends. I want to be your friend. I want to kind of help you with your little weirdness. And I need you to be my balancing rod for Shoshanna's, edge. They both know each other well enough that they can help each other, but they do not need to be in a romantic relationship. And for me, I'm oh, that's perfect. I'm down to see the two of them hang out and not have to worry about, are they getting back together?
Yeah, they're good complements to each other.
Mm-hmm.
They complement each other well, and you can have people like that in your life that you're not in a relationship with.
Yes. And most of the time, that is the healthiest way of having that.
Exactly. Exactly.
And yeah, I really like that. I thought, because I was are they really going to do the post Adams theater show scene again where she tries to win him back? I'm that wouldn't make any sense. And then that would undercut what happened when Desi and Marnie had their brunch scene and they seemed to be getting close. I was let's not force this them hooking up just because,
Yeah, I'm liking the way that their story is going.
Mm-hmm.
Ray and Shoshanna. I like that.
Yeah.
So Ray buys the shirt. They're walking around, and he's basically being the shirt's weird. I don't like the shirt. And then he just straight up tells her, he's like, hey, Shoshanna, straight up, I hate this shirt. And she's like, yeah, that shirt's terrible.
Yeah.
It's why didn't you fucking tell him before he spent $70 on it? But basically, she's still kind of complaining and asking him like what's wrong with her, because I love that everybody goes to Ray to be like, what's wrong with me? And she's basically relaying everything that the job interview lady said to her at the beginning of the show and be like, do you think I'm off-putting and do you think I'm too blunt? And Ray's like, no, you're good the way you are, but like shit just takes time, you know? You know, you'll find the right place. It's just going to take time. Everything doesn't just fall in people's laps, but you have to be patient.
Yeah.
And then he gets back to the honking cars, and they're still honking, and he's like, all right, well, I'm going to go. I don't want to yell at these cars in front of you anymore because this is like a me thing. And then Shoshanna's like, why don't you just like call City Hall or call the mayor or something and let them know?
Call de Blasio.
Ray's like, what am I going to just go up to Bill de Blasio's house and be like, hey, you don't know me, but I got a traffic light problem. She's like, no, just go to like one of those City Hall meetings or something that are boring as...
She says one of those council meetings you see on C-SPAN with the people in polyester with bad hair.
Yeah.
But I like that she's saying, hey, just stop yelling and use it for good, or like use that energy for something productive. Because yelling at these cars is not going to solve the problem.
I love that he's like, I don't want you to see me angry. And she's like, your baseline is angry. That's just you. You're angry.
Yeah.
Which I was like, nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's kind of like you can make actual change if you actually put your anger in the right way and to the right places. And that's very true. And I agree with what Shoshanna was saying there.
I like all that. I really don't want to watch an episode where we see Ray go through the bureaucratic process of trying to get this light removed.
I think that'd be pretty funny to see, actually. Do you think Ray has a future in politics?
Oh my God. At the end of the show, Ray's like
mayor of New York.
City councilman or something.
I could see that happening.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. What did he want to study? Art history or something? What was he going to go to school for before that guy told him to do
art
coffee?
History?
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
That is Shoshanna's story there.
Yeah, it's good. I thought they did a good job with it being like her in the real world and her just relinking with Ray and keeping him in the flow. And yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot.
Yep.
I like that story a lot. So Marnie, she, we briefly talked about her, but she's showing the new song to Jessa and Shoshanna. They don't really like it, but they know that it would be successful. Then we see Marty and Desi practicing, and there's a weird aura between them. And Desi calls it out. He's like, what's going on? Why are you like being weird? She's like, I'm not being weird. And he's like, you're being weird. Seriously, if you need me to apologize again, I'll be happy to apologize. She's like, no, I'm not being weird. Let's just keep practicing.
If you want me to apologize again, I will apologize.
Yeah.
So lame.
Yeah. And that's basically that scene.
Because that scene's there just to set up this next scene,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the next scene? Because
the next scene is
Desi
comes knocking at her door in the middle of the night.
Okay, that's what I thought.
To let her in. And she gets out of bed. She lets him in. And he is like distraught. And he's coming in like he just murdered someone.
Yeah, I was like, what is going on?
And he's like, I did it. He
finally, he comes in and he's like, I did it. I really fucking did it. Yeah. I did it. I was like, what did you do, bro?
Yeah. And he's like, limited time. I told her about us and it's over. And he's like chugging water and he can't, like, he's like blubbering and like not making any sense with his words. Which I thought I would give him this. It was a fun performance by him. It was a really fun performance. He's all over the place.
He's blubbering so much that on the closed captioning at one point, it just says mumbling and crying.
They were like, we give up.
Yeah. And Marnie was like, I can't understand anything you're saying, actually. It was right after that. So he basically tells her that he dumped Clementine. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And he's like, yeah, I dumped her because she told me that she was thinking about another guy sexually. And I was basically just thinking she definitely already had sex with this guy. I know that she did. So I dumped her. And he was like, this is the hardest thing I ever had to do. And Marnie is like, wait, are you sure that you dumped her? Or it sounds kind of like she may have dumped you.
Can we not use the dump word? It's so harsh.
He's like, no. I definitely dumped her. And then Marnie's like, well, it kind of sounds like you did like a preemptive dump. Mm-hmm. Like, it sounds like she was about to dump you. And and so he's like, no, I definitely dumped her. She's out of my life. And I'm with you now. And I love you. I love you so much. And I only love you. And Marnie's looking like, oh boy, what did I get myself into?
Yeah.
And then he starts eating her out. And then she's like, I can deal with that.
Yeah, that I wrote down. Is she happy? Because we get like a little smile at the end, but it seemed like she was really disappointed that his reasoning for breaking up with her wasn't. Because that's why that scene before was there. So it'd be like, oh my God, Marnie's not happy. It's really interfering with the music. I need to do this. I need to pull the plug, end it with Clementine, get with Marnie, make Marnie happy. But we find out that the reason he did it was just out of like pure insecurity is why he broke up with Clementine. Not I love Marnie. Because he, even at the end of this, he's like, I love you and only you. And it's like, if that was the case, I don't think you come in crying like that about that whole situation. Also, in a past episode, he mentioned, which we called about for just being like, oh, monogamy, this Western philosophy of relationships of monogamy. And it's like, oh, so now she hooks up with someone else and you can't handle that. She said she thought about like another guy that she was attracted to. And that was enough that you like flew off the handle that she slept with him already.
I always see memes of it's like, yeah, I cheated on you 9 times, but with 9 different women. But when you hear she had lunch with an office mate, and it's just like a guy that's like devastated. It's like that's Desi right now.
Absolutely. And I'm just like, you piece of shit, man. And then I'm like,
Desi
Marnie,
sucks.
How do you not see this? Like you just like, I thought she would be like, no, you need to leave or something at that point.
I think that it was going that way because she seemed to be realizing that like, oh, this isn't about me. It's like he didn't leave her because he loves me. He left her because she was leaving him. And then he starts like going down on her and she's like, ha ha ha. I took the smile as like a victory smile.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, I'm happy that I'm with this guy.
Yeah, I get the victory, but I'm like, did you win really? Is this a good victory? This is like a disqualification, like you didn't win the match.
Yeah.
Like,
so
I don't know. That's why I was like, I just couldn't put myself in Marnie's shoes there and be like, I'm like, do you like this guy still? Do you really still like him?
She's going to be over him in the next episode. She's going to be so annoyed by him because he's an annoying fucking asshole character.
Yeah.
And he looks like that Jesus painting.
He does. He really
Go
does.
to our Facebook page. Vance did an incredible split screen with Desi and that Jesus painting, and it is the best thing I've ever seen.
I got to give you credit for calling it. You said he looked like it.
I got to give you credit for making it happen. That was great.
Oh, credit!
So everybody
credit
go to
all
our,
around. Credit all around.
Go to the Boys Watching Girls Facebook page and like it. Like the page too. Follow and subscribe it because we post shit on there and it's fun memes and stuff. And right now I'm the only one seeing it. I think.
Yeah, and if you're not a fan of Facebook, which I can understand, reach out to us. We'll share it in some other form.
Yeah. Slide in our DMs individually.
Yeah.
And that wraps up Marnie, basically.
Yeah.
She has destroyed another life, and she's happy about it.
Well, I'm happy if we're not going to see Clementine again. I'm happy that she had someone else that she's moving on to. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like she's completely devastated in this. If she was the one that actually did break up, I'm like, okay. It's all happening off screen, but it makes you feel better about this imaginary character, this fictional character in this fictional show.
Yeah, I feel good that she got some closure, you know?
Yeah.
She's on her own. She's doing her own thing.
Yeah.
I'm happy about it. So now the main event of the podcast. Hannah Horvath, who is in Iowa, and she's having a hard time writing.
Yep.
She's got some serious writer's block going on, and she cannot put pen to paper.
She's got the classic balling up a sheet of paper, crumpling it, and throwing it across the room. She's got TV writer's
cliche.
block.
So cliche. So cliche.
We all have
So
that
she
corner
eventually-
of our room that's full of crumpled up pieces of paper.
Have you ever done that?
Oh man, I've definitely written something, torn the page out, balled it up, but I don't think it would. It's more like moving on. Not in a I feel like I'm being filmed and I'm doing this for dramatic purposes. You know.
I think I've done it only in a way to make fun of that
Yeah.
like type of scene. What I normally do is, so I have like, I used to have joke notebooks that I'd write down all of my jokes in before I just started putting everything in my phone, which if I lose my phone, I'm fucked. And I'll just basically quit comedy.
Why don't you back that up to the cloud or something?
I mean, I'm also of the mindset that like,
Yeah, if
if it's good, it'll stick in my head,
all right.
But
You're
what
a
I would do
gambler.
is
You're a gambler, Joe Walking.
I'm a gambling man, and I also believe that if it is good, I'll remember it, and if it's not, then it doesn't matter because I wasn't going to say it on stage anyway.
So you
know what I
losing
mean?
your phone would be your sign to leave comedy.
Absolutely, I'll quit 100%. I've been trying to lose my phone for the last 5 years.
You're like Hannah in this episode. You're like, why can't I lose my phone? You just leave it at
Yeah.
bars, in Ubers,
Just
and people
leave
keep
it.
calling you and bringing it back. They're like, hey,
Like, hey, are
we
you
found your
Joe?
phone.
Like, fuck! I thought I was free.
I thought it was free.
I thought I was the genie and I finally got out of the lamp. But so she goes downstairs to hang out with Elijah, and Elijah's like, you're not doing anything. It's annoying me. And she's like, I can't write. I have writer's block. And she's like, I think that my story that I'm writing is so trivial. And he's like, this is great.
Mhm.
I love this. Where he's like, what are you talking about? The story about how the woman didn't buy a box of Thin Mints from the Girl Scouts? That is a story of the triumph of will. And she's like, yeah, but it ends with me buying the box of Thin Mints. And he's like, oh.
Well, my thought when I heard that, I was like, I could see that being a pretty good short story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you?
Yeah. It's all the stuff in the middle that would make that story interesting. The setup.
How many
of, like,
pages do you think this could go that would be interesting?
You could probably get 3 pages out of that.
Okay, I was going to say max 3.
3. You could push the 5, but you could do 3. And
if you're getting
depending on
real-
the size of the book and the wording on a book, you could get it.
If you're getting really Dickensian,
Yeah.
where you just very, very describing literally everything
Yeah.
in the environment setting, you could push it to 5 maybe.
I mean, Melissa McCarthy's in a movie where they sell Girl Scout cookies with Kristen Bell. I don't remember the name.
Oh, is
of
that
it.
like a Girl Scout cookie war type movie?
Yeah.
Dude, Melissa McCarthy
It-
did some real shitty movies after she blew up.
It's
very
always hit or
unfortunate.
miss with comedy sometimes with
It's
the stuff.
so unfortunate.
I really do like the movie Spy that she's in. I think that's an underrated
Dude,
classic.
Spy is the best movie that she's done. I fucking love that movie.
Yeah, that movie I watched and I was not expecting a lot, and it's great. But yeah.
But then I saw some movie where she was like the mother to
Oh, is that Tammy or something? Or the
no
one
no
with
no
Susan
it was,
Sarandon? Or
it was actually I think it has little spoiler alert. It has Jillian Jacobs in it, and
Mhm.
she's Jillian Jacobs' mom, and Jillian Jacobs is going to college, and the mom I think it's called The Life of the Party or something. That
Yeah,
movie
it's-
was.
Yeah.
That movie was so bad. That was, I think, the only movie that I got up and left in the middle of the movie.
Oh, you were at the theater for it.
I was at I was in a theater, and it was when we had MoviePass. Remember MoviePass? I had MoviePass, and I was like, well, I don't have anything to do. It was like I had some time before this open mic that I was going to, and it was the movie theater was right around this this comedy club. So I just went and I was like, I'll go see The Life of the Party. And I still had like an hour left before that open mic started. And I got up and I left because I was like, this is awful.
Yeah. Only thing I know about that movie is that I think she hooks up with a college kid in it.
Yes,
which is very suspect. Because she's a mother of a college kid at that point.
It was not good.
And I never did MoviePass because I never could wrap my head around how it worked. It didn't seem to make any sense.
It made no sense, and it was a glorious like 5 months of having it. I was
awesome. Just like, wait, are they still like? I know everything's stealing my information, but like, how are they doing it? Like, why would movie theaters need another place to tell them who's seeing movies as opposed to like it would? The logic behind it just blew my mind, where I couldn't get on board.
Yeah. I got on board because it was one of those things where you're like, this seems too good to be true.
Absolutely.
But then I knew a bunch of people that had it, and they're like, it's not too good to be true. This is real. And then I got it, and then like a couple months later, they're like, you know what? This was too good to be true, and we can't do this anymore.
It only screwed over investors, I guess.
Yeah. I saw a bunch of movies that I wouldn't have usually gone out to the theater to see, though. Mm-hmm. Which I guess that was kind of their logic behind it, and that the movie theaters would get some money from just like concessions or something. I don't know.
But the amount of money that you spend on concessions versus the amount of free tickets they were giving away just does not off. Whatever. It's a terrible business model. It failed. Whatever.
Well, it's kind of like comedy clubs. Like if they don't have a lot of tickets, they'll just give out free tickets to people for the weekend, and they make the money on the bar.
Well, they have the 2-drink minimum and stuff like that in those places. So like,
but movies don't have 2 concessions minimums.
Yeah.
So you could just go see a bunch of movies for free, $10 a month or whatever.
Yeah.
That MoviePass was so awesome when it existed, dude. It was
a ton of people that like did it. And then towards the end, it was really funny where you had to take pictures of ticket stubs and like, it was a mess.
The last month of MoviePass's existence was a horrible dumpster fire of a mess.
Yeah.
You had to take pictures of the movie tickets. You were blocked out of some movies. Yeah. Then they had like this tiered system, and then they were just like, you know what, we can't do this anymore.
Yeah, the Mission Impossible movie was the one that really broke it because everyone wanted to see that Mission Impossible movie, and no one could with MoviePass.
And then some theaters blocked it out too. It was a mess, but it was hilarious.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to Hannah. Her dad's coming to town to have dinner with her because he's doing some kind of thing.
I wanted to say in this scene, they do a good like little editing camera trick or like framing where she goes down and you hear like a computer and typing and stuff where she's sitting at the table across from Elijah, but it's like a close up. So you think she's at the desk typing something, and then they cut wide and she has nothing in front of her. And Elijah typing, working on something.
Yeah, he's working on a photo journal of how he believes that kids that used to be fat grow up to be sluts.
Yeah, fat kids turning into slutty adults. And there's all the photos he took. And she's asking, do you have any clearances or...
do you have any releases?
Yeah, it's like, it's Iowa. They don't know what releases is.
Yeah.
And that's why in the next scene where we see her write up something and start putting sheets in the Cubbies, I thought she was sending messages to those people about getting releases. I thought she was screwing over, well, not screwing over Elijah, but being like, just ask for a release on these photos that this guy took.
Oh, so you thought that the things that she was putting in the Cubbies were like release forms,
or
letting them
just
know
information
that
about
doing
like, hey, I didn't know. I mean, I'm just going off the last scene. So
yeah, so Hannah goes and she's putting a piece of paper in Cubbies. Mm-hmm. And I thought that it was like she was trying to screw over her class And like,
Yeah,
I
when the
thought that
scene
it was like a
started,
submission. I thought it was like a submission for the papers that they all wrote or something.
Mm.
And she was going to write something horrible, like a horrible story, and then submit it as Chandra and Jeffrey and Logan or whatever to like fuck them over.
I thought when the scene started, and I guess we should just jump to like they were in the classroom, and I thought she'd written a letter that was an anonymous one saying complaining about something in the class, but it wasn't. But it wasn't anonymous because everyone. Well, Chandra calls her out and be like, Hannah wrote it. She's like, I know, I signed it. You know. Like,
Yeah. So what the thing that she was putting in the Cubbies were a bunch of quote unquote apologies to her class for her actions that she did in the last episode, where she just basically cut everyone down and belittled them and called them all terrible writers and blah, 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 blah. But I put apology in quotes because it is the classic non-apology apology of like, well, I'm sorry that you couldn't handle the truth kind of thing.
Yeah. And the classmates all call her out. They're like, you apologize that we are the reason that you can't write anymore. Like,
yeah.
What are you talking about?
So Hannah put out this apology that is like, she's saying that she's sorry for calling everyone out on their flaws as writers and human beings, and that they should forgive her because all of the negative energy that's surrounding her because of them is causing her to have writer's block, basically. Mm-hmm. And she's basically blaming the other students for putting negative energy on Hannah for her actions. It's like this weird mindfuckery Jedi trick.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
It's awful. Yeah. And it made me hate her guts. And everybody calls her out on it. Number one, they call her out on her terrible writing in the apology.
Mm-hmm. Oh, is that a run-on sentence?
Yeah. They call her out on her... It's not an apology at all, and it's incredibly defensive. And then Hannah's like, well, if I defend myself now, it's going to make me seem even more defensive. So I guess I can't defend myself, but I will defend myself. Mm-hmm. And they're basically like, dude, you're a fucking asshole, insane person. Like, this is insane that you did this.
Yeah. And it's so, and like, then she balls up her like printout of the paper and throws it at the kid. And hits him in the face. And
he's like, she assaulted me. Everyone was witnesses.
Yeah. And that guy's like so sensitive, but also like Hannah is just awful in this class, man. Like,
yeah.
It's not
She's
that
an awful
hard.
Human being.
All you have to do is like write a story. Like, I get the writing block and like people judging their stuff and like that can get in your head. But like the class is literally write something. We're going to talk about it. And then you write something else. Like it's super low stakes in a weird way. Because I would have loved to see more than like, is her graduate class really just meeting up with these 8 or so people and then just sharing a short story? Is that what she's paying for? Like,
yeah, I'd love to go to that grad school. You know,
I'm just saying, like, you
could
form that yourself, like. Like you
just get a writer's group.
You could pay a UCB teacher to read some stuff, like, you know. But I was happy. The scene she gets. It's the next scene she gets held back because the teacher wants to talk to her. Yeah. I really was happy to finally get the teacher's input in some of this because I feel like she's just been on the sideline this whole time, and I kind of wanted to be like, "Hey, this disruptive person in your class, what do you think?" And then she goes on and says, hey, you know, maybe academia is not for everyone. And it says, yeah, I'm better on the streets.
Yeah, that was awful too.
Yeah. But
watching this made me think that like, it definitely was like, oh, Hannah, if I was in that class, I'd be like, this girl has some kind of mental problem. Mm-hmm. Just the way that she was acting. And then even when she's acting with the teacher, I was like, dude, you definitely just you have such a lack of awareness that I think that you have some kind of mental illness.
You know the thing that got me, because like basically she says, "Oh, I thought you were kicking me." Hannah thinks, "Oh, I thought you were kicking me out," and she's like, "No, that wouldn't happen. You'd have to do something. There's only like one way to get kicked out, and there's to do something extremely violent to another student, and like not a little violent, like what she did with throwing the thing." And I was like, "Oh boy, what violent thing is Hannah gonna do to get kicked out of here?"
That's what I was worried about. I was like, is she just going to commit arson or something?
Yeah, I was traumatized with this. And then, what was it? What did she say? Oh, she says, "Oh, when I was getting kicked out, I felt really relieved. And like, I was really getting happy when I thought I was getting kicked out." Which goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Which, yeah, I understand that feeling of like, doing something you hate and then realizing you like getting fired or being like, "Oh, someone else is going to do this. You don't have to do it." And being like, "Oh, thank God." Like
I don't know if we've talked about that on this podcast before, but that's one of my favorite things about being an adult is you don't have to stay anywhere. You can just, within reason. But like if you're like signed up for a class that you don't like or whatever, you go to a hot yoga class, it's your first time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first time I went to hot yoga, I was like very worried and very nervous. I like
that you picked the most like LA-ish like thing that you could say. Like where you go to hot yoga. Like everyone relates to that.
Here we go. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the same thing. Circus classes that I've done, same thing. But I'm like really nervous.
Really relatable. Circus classes and hot yoga. Just a man of the people, Joe Welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Y'all ain't doing what I do. But the thing that calms me down is once I have all those nerves is I stop and I say to myself, I am an adult. And if I don't like this, I can just leave. Like, and that calms me down so much in those kind of weird environments. Yeah. Even like certain jobs that I've had where I'm like, it gives me such a calming presence to just be like, I could literally just get up and walk out the door and there's nothing that anyone can do about it.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
For me, it's always a battle of time and being like, you know what? At some point, like if you have a hard day of work on a Friday, you can be like, at some point, Saturday will come. Like, regardless of what happens, Saturday will be here and this thing will be over. Like, the deadline will pass at some point. Like, this is not a forever thing. Like, that's kind of how my mental stuff works. But for this, Hannah's issue is more kind of the issue of, like, creatives and moving to a place and, like, being in LA for a goal and then having to, like, go back, Like, her issue is she can't just act it. Like, she feels bad if she just leaves this place because it was kind of tough or she didn't like it. And then the excuses she'll have to make of like why she left. Like if she gets kicked out, it's like a built-in excuse. Oh yeah, they didn't like this and that. And like they kicked me out and it was bullshit. Like she can have that defense. But if she decides, oh, it wasn't for me and I left, people won't understand that in a way. Yeah, because she's worried about that. Yeah.
Because it is like a golden opportunity. Like it, like I was a prestigious writing school and a lot of people would kill to get into it. And then if you go there and you don't necessarily like it, you can also think like there's something wrong with me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
No. And making the decision to just quit going to Iowa or whatever, people might raise eyebrows and she's worried about that kind of, that stigma that goes along with that.
Yeah, if you're an actor, you move out to LA, you're trying to do it, and then like if you go back to wherever your hometown is or something, you feel like you failed at your goal kind of thing. Like it's one of those weird, and it's like, oh, it'd be fine if like I was on a show and then the show got rid of me. Because like say you don't like acting anymore or whatever, and the show got rid of me, you were like, oh, the show got canceled. People didn't believe us, so I came back. Like you have that excuse built in, but without it, you're just having to admit to yourself that you don't like something that, So I get what she's going through. And she talks about all this in the next scene.
Yeah, the next scene with her dad, she's basically laying out all the issues that we just talked about like the stigma of quitting and am I making the right decision and how do I even know what the right decision is? And her dad is basically like, you need to do what's right for you. And if you're hating your life right now and you're doing this, then don't do it. Like, you don't need to go through this suffering if you absolutely hate your life, because the only person that has to live with your decisions is you. So you need to figure out what's right for you. And then once you do, fucking do it. And I thought it was really interesting that he brought up that the mom tried to write a book, and she was working really hard on it, but it just made her so miserable. And it was such hard work that she quit, and she was so much happier. And this is the second time that this notion has been brought up, because Elijah was talking about it. I think it was the last episode where he was a dancer and then he quit, and he said it was the biggest relief of his life once he quit. So there's a lot of pro quitting in these last couple episodes. Yeah. Which is really interesting, cool, and depressing for me.
I'm interested in the story because we talked about this last episode and stuff, so we won't rehash all of like how it relates to like us and our endeavors. But what I find cool about this show is that I find it to be really interesting to see what Hannah does if she doesn't keep writing.
Yeah, because what do you do from there? You know,
but I don't think. But I don't think she's gonna get. I don't think she gives up the writing thing.
Yeah, I think it's like it's one of those things where you put so many years and so much effort into trying to achieve this certain dream, and if you just quit it, then you're like, well, what am I? Who am I? Yeah. Because my whole identity was linked to this, and now I don't have that anymore. So what the fuck am I doing? Where am I? Who am I? Yeah. And that's the interesting thing I feel about the story. And I think the story is like super relatable for creative people. And I love
and non-creative people probably too. Like if you're just in say you've just been working in an engineering field for a while and you're just like, no, man, I know I went to school, I got my degree in this, and you know, like I'm a project manager, but I don't really like this. And you're in that weird spot where like, oh, I've invested years and time into something and I don't want it. But it's, and also they don't deal with anything like being comfortable at a position. You know what I mean? Like some people just don't want to leave that comfort zone, even though they don't like what it is.
Well, I think they kind of briefly did with the GQ thing.
Yeah, they did touch it. Yeah, the GQ thing was a fearsome comfort zone. It happened real quick. She saw everyone and she was like realized how easy you could fall into this trap. The thing I wanted to bring up about the dad, I love how like forceful, like he is like, he seems like he's dealing with some personal stuff. Like I for some reason I always harp back to the first season when Elijah said that he was gay. Which, because Elijah also said that Charlie was gay too, now I don't really fully buy it, but I always was wondering when they planted that seed, if at some point the dad being gay would be something. And the way he's being like, oh, and only do what makes you happy and don't worry about anyone else. I was like, if he's closeted, like that's really like an interesting like thing that he's saying right there. And it may be nothing, but he was saying it with like a personal force that was trying to be like, what is he hiding?
Yeah, he said something. It was like a very weird sticking out line about like it doesn't matter how it could damage other people or something.
You have to do what's right for
you.
You have to do what's right for you, no matter how it might hurt other people.
Yes. That's what it was. And Hannah's like, "What are you talking about? Like, who did it harm?" And he's like, "I don't know. I'm just upset because you're upset."
She's like,
and it just made me more upset.
Yeah, you're way more upset than I am about this. Like, so.
But I did enjoy this scene and conversation with the dad because it seems like the dad's like really supportive of her. And, you know, the dad's always been supportive, but this is like a good dad moment, I feel. Yeah. You know, it's like, it's okay that your dream didn't turn out to be what you thought it would be, you know, but it doesn't make you any less of a person. It doesn't make you any less like, I don't know, you can still do other things. You know, you're an amazing person, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Stuff you got to say to your daughter.
Yeah. And then that conversation basically continues until like they get her home and the dad, she's like, I just don't know what the right decision is. They get back to her place And she's like, I don't want to go back into my house because if I go there, that means that I have to continue this shitty life. And the dad's like, well, come get on a plane with me. We can go somewhere else. I don't care. And she's like, what? That's crazy. And he's like, yeah, I mean, it is crazy, but, whatever. I was just joking.
I think he wasn't, though.
I don't think he was either.
That's what I'm thinking. He's like, there's something there. Like, he's like, I don't want, like, even the way he says goodbye and, like, he walks away and, like, does a double turn back and is surprised she's not still there waving goodbye. Like, they've just had dinner and hung out and, like, it's not.
Let's speculate. What do you think is up with the dad?
Well, I just said it. Like, that's what I think. I'm going to go with
gay?
I'm going to go with the closeted gay thing until, I mean, I don't know. I mean, other than that, I have we don't have enough information about who he is other than that random seed that Elijah planted.
Yeah.
Because they're both retired now, right? Aren't they retired teachers?
Possibly.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe one of them is like dying.
Yeah.
Maybe one of them is like got cancer or something. They don't want to tell Hannah because of they don't want it to interfere with her Iowa stuff. I don't know.
No, because they would tell her stuff usually. Like, remember he called and she didn't want to listen. He went to the doctor.
Yeah. That's true.
So no, they wouldn't keep it.
There's definitely something up with the dad, though.
Yeah.
Because when he does do a double back to look and see if she's still there or something, he like desperately wants her help or something.
Oh, here's a question: why is he there? She said he
had a conference in Minnesota.
Okay, so he's not.
He just drove down.
I guess.
I guess not. Yeah.
That's what. Okay.
Yeah. So Hannah wakes up the next day and she's tapping at her keyboard and she's kind of looking around, getting that same writer's block feeling. And then she closes her computer. She's like, fuck this. I'm going back to New York. She just leaves. She goes back to New York. She shows up at her apartment. She puts the keys in, opens the door, and another woman opens the door. And she's like, hi, who the fuck are you? And the girl that answers the door is like, I'm Mimi Rose. Who are you? She's like, oh no, are you Hannah? She's like, yeah, I am Hannah. And at this point, I had forgotten what happened with the apartment. I thought that maybe she had like given it up. I didn't realize.
No, Adam was still living there. Yeah.
Yeah. So Adam pops out from behind Mimi Rose, puts a shirt on, and he just Hannah enters the apartment and is just kind of like, what's going on here? My couch is gone. Everything is rearranged. Adam did a bang up job with that apartment. He looks a lot nicer than it did before.
Oh, you're going to say Adam did it and not Mimi?
I mean, somebody did it. And then Adam is just kind of sheepishly hugs her, then kind of sheepishly is walking around. And Hannah's like, what's going on? I'm very confused. Adam, is this like a new roommate? And he's like, no. And then, dun dun.
Yeah.
End of the episode. And Mimi Rose is Jillian Jacobs. That's why I said minor spoiler alert.
Yeah. Yeah, cliffhanger.
You knew this was gonna happen.
Well, they kind of Jessa almost teased it a little bit in that episode.
Yeah,
where she's like, "Are you still hanging out with that girl or whatever?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big old cliffhanger.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing where like it'd be one thing if the Mimi character didn't know who Hannah was. You know what I mean? It was like, who's this girl? And they're both like, who is this? You know, like, no, she knows about Hannah. Because it ends up, because it cuts back to a shot of Gillian Jacobs just like looking at Hannah like, oh, this is what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
Great.
I don't know.
This is a good cliffhanger though, dude. Yeah, this is one where I saw that happen. I was like, oh, what's happening
next?
This
is the next episode. Like, the next episode is just all Marnie.
I know. I wouldn't put it past it.
It would be so devastating. Or if they just skip over this and it's like Hannah goes back home to complain about Adam. Like,
or she just goes back to Iowa.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I was wondering when she left, like she just left Elijah there.
That's what I was wondering too.
Like,
did Elijah get a separate flight?
Did
like,
they
what's going
did
on
they
with
make
Elijah?
a deal on rent or anything? Is Elijah just staying there? Like, I don't understand. Elijah just popped in and then moved in.
Yeah, unfortunately for people that don't know this, you can't just leave a place. She had a bunch of furniture there.
Well,
she only came back with one bag.
It didn't seem like it wasn't. It seemed like moving for a big move, but also could be like an extended visit. You know, it wasn't 100% sure, like what her thing was.
Yeah.
And if Elijah's there, like you don't need to take your stuff. You can come back and get it later. You know.
You know what's crazy is as soon as I saw Jillian Jacobs and Adam, like, and I saw them as like they're together, I was like, that's a good couple. I was like, visually, I was like, yeah, that fits. That works.
Yeah. For some reason, I was like, okay. Because it's always like, who would Adam be dating? You know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, for some reason, this kind of does work.
Yeah, it felt right.
Yeah.
It was weird. I just, from like me just looking at them, I was like, yeah, that's a couple.
It's a great casting call. And I don't know where Gillian Jacobs is in her career at this point with Community.
Oh, I never watched Community for some reason, but I hear that it's like awesome.
Yeah, check out the paintball episodes. Those are really good.
I saw one, that was the one episode that I saw of Community, and I was just, I feel like that's one of those shows that you need to have a connection to the characters to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I don't get.
Yeah, you don't get the
this.
personal. Yeah, I bet probably confused the hell out of you.
Yeah.
Donald Glover also was in Girls and in Community. No.
Oh, Community and Girls Connection.
They must have the same casting.
Maybe Joel
Casting
McHale
directors.
will show up later as some kind of crackhead that Jessa fucks for 3 episodes.
If it would ever be that long.
Yeah, right.
Um,
that's the episode, guys.
Yeah.
Any final words?
I meant to plug this, or not plug it, because I've never read it. I just read an article about this very young writer who kind of seems like she's on the path of what Lena Dunham was on. Minus minus, I don't know her content of her stuff, and I don't think she's a filmmaker at all. She's just kind of like a pure writer. But she's this author named Emma Cline. She wrote a book in 2016 called The Girls. And she just recently released a book of short stories called Daddy. And she's like kind of one of those like up and coming, like young, like everyone's just like, this is crazy. Someone this young is writing this with this much depth.
She's taking the baton from Lena Dunham.
I don't know. I have not checked out the book, but it came across it and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to mention it. Check it out. Emma Cline. See if it's something you guys are interested in.
The Girls and Daddy?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah. The Girls is
check that
her
out.
first one, her first novel, and Daddy is a collection of short stories that came out fairly recently.
There you go. Everybody check those out. Write in Boys Watching Girls Podcast at Gmail. Give us a review. Let us know if you've read it, if you've thought of it, if you think that it kind of relates to Lena Dunham, and if you think that she'll get a TV deal like Lena Dunham and she'll have a show called The Girls, and then we'll review that show, and it'll be called Boys Watching the Girls.
The confusion of people Googling that, like, damn it, I downloaded the wrong episode. Yeah. Figured I'd plug something other than TV shows and random stuff. Yeah.
All right. Well, that wraps up this episode. Stay tuned for next week's episode, where the title of that one is Sit In. So who knows?
Yeah, sit-ins usually are like, oh, you know what it is? It's going to be Ray protesting something.
Oh, I hope so.
That's what. Yeah, Ray's going to go super political. You know,
he's going to stage a protest.
He's going to stage a protest. He's got to get these
Occupy.
people to stop honking. He can't read his books.
Occupy my street.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. See you next time. Bye.